been on, and we apologize profoundly for that. But the first weekend, you have to endure it. Happens to be the playoff weekend. I mean, that's just, it's in the rules.
Yeah.
You can look it up. It's
It
right
took
in there.
us 3 weeks to get rid of ducks. You know, we did a lot of duck puns. We
And we
mixed them in
still
here and
come
there.
back to it. And every single time we have a name change, it means all the puns are bad.
It's not our fault.
It's not a puns of one team. It's all the puns are bad. It's actually in the rules. You can look it up. It's right there. Team gets a name change, puns for a weekend. That's how it works.
That's the rules. Well, it's time to go to BOE here. A map that both teams have been great on. Team Expert probably a little bit more as of late.
Ooh, Insta-Tracer ban. I like that.
Yeah, one problem solved. We come back to the research yesterday. Ban Tracer.
Yeah, it's quite good.
All right, check mark right there.
Well, Team Expert at this position in the draft is looking quite favorable. No, I'm just kidding. But Tracer being taken away.
That analysis.
Tracer ban.
No, Tracer being taken away is a
boys,
big deal.
game over.
Because I like that they show that respect to Puig.
Yeah.
Because he's had just stellar performances in general throughout the playoffs on that hero.
And now that we have Avatar ban, I was just about to say, if you ban out Tracer here, you all of a sudden open a lot of other meta picks, because now Tacita's open and they can take Tacita. Since if you are on the side of Team Wish, you already know what high of a priority Expert currently has on Abathur, that you don't really want to give them Abathur here. But if you ban out Abathur, they take Tacita and vice versa. So with the ban on Tracer, you're all of a sudden in a situation where you know that your opponent is getting one of the two of them. So you are again in a lesser of two evil scenario where you can say, what can we deal better? And they decide in favor of the double support, but the lack of a side soak on the side lane.
Aside from a couple stage dives, I think that Mopsio had a pretty good performance on ETC in the last game. Specifically when it comes to like peeling for the Rhaegar in team fights. The stage dives were what was questionable for me. But on a map like this, like, and that last game was super stressful for him as the global. So like taking that into consideration.
Here's the thing with Mopsio, like he had on ETC when there was only Mosh Pit being played, in the first games where he played, he always, you could really see he tunnel visioned on Mosh Pits. And he really just like went way too deep, died, went way too deep, died, went way too deep, got a Mosh Pit off, it hit one hero and he died again. Then he kind of calmed down and got so much stronger. But you can see the pressure on him when he's now in these scenarios where he wants to make that one stage dive where they force it, and then you have a scenario as he stage dives.
Like I understand the thought process when he does stage dive.
That's where he needs to.
Sometimes it's not like the high percentage play that he might be looking for.
This is the moment. Like this is something that is for them a huge development process, and they've gotten a lot better with it. But on this particular front line, they need to have a little bit more calm and quiet, and just the confidence to say, hey, not now, we have it later. And he got a lot better already with it overall. And that's, for me, personally, if they can improve on that, that would be great. Because as you said, he's peeling for the lines and always like protecting
is really
everybody.
Good post stage dive.
So good, exactly. It was great.
And so they end up locking in the Greymane and Tyrael. All around solid picks overall. Greymane's got really good Immortal Burn and split push potential. And then obviously like the Tyrael Greymane synergy of being able to all-in a target.
This is textbook Team Expert right now. They enjoy bringing the fight to your opponent.
Absolutely.
They want to play around cooldowns. They want to hit that sanctification and go for the fight. So this is textbook Team Expert. It's a matter of how will Team Wish handle this.
I would still expect the Rhaegar to be taken if they get the chance to, if it's not being banned out by Expert. With Vala, you are also very likely to see a double support again. ETC already is great, so with ETC I feel you can make an argument of not going double support if you're forced into it. Because ETC can really just protect you a lot better. He has the peel with a face melt. You can go, even on this map, into Prog Rock, even though it's not the best map for the talent. But overall,
bit of a respect bend there.
Yeah, but overall, I would still expect a double support on the end with that follow-up. With Vala, usually it makes sense. You can still be.
I mean, Vala is capable of doing enough damage to run double support consistently and still not suffer.
As long as you have the double support, you can be so aggressive. And talking about respect bans, now we have Malthael banned out.
Yeah, both the offlaners get their respective respect ban. It's pretty hilarious. Like we see the Sonya there, Malthael respectively for Zarmony.
Now that puts actually a lot more pressure, I think, on the offlane choices. So the Haka, for example, could now being picked right away.
Priority. I could see a couple of routes Team Wish could take. And like Genji Uther is still available as well. That's something they've shown priority in the past. It's like they're trying to decide what sort of team comp they want, in the sense that they could go double support or they could go like Genji Uther and more all-in style. And honestly, against a Greymane Tyrael Tassadar, I wouldn't be opposed to them just taking the back seat and playing the more slow double support. We're going to sit under our Immortal and wait for you to make a mistake playstyle. But, I mean, Shad has also shown a preference for that Genji.
Definitely true. Now, I'm curious on that part as well, but you're right. The Uther variation would be one, then you can go into the double support with Rhaegar.
Oriole, Rhaegar, potentially Brightwing.
Okay, so there's our
So they didn't
offlaner.
have the Arthas too.
So Arthas over the Haka and Rhaegar. So we could ETC again see with Stage Dive over Mosh Pit. Arthas taking the solo lane at the start and then ETC later on, depending on what the solo laner for Team Expert is going to be. But yeah, likely that we're going to end up with another support for them.
Yeah, Team Wish looking to have the hang back and wait, as you were mentioning here. Arthas controls chokes well. If Greymane makes a mistake with that dive, you're able to lock him down.
Tyrande?
Could be.
For a fifth?
Could be. I haven't seen Wish play Tron. I don't know if they do or don't, but it is Battlefield of Eternity. It's one of her best maps.
You have ETC,
you already have
you have
ETC,
Arthas.
and you already have Arthas. Like, Tyrande's looking pretty good here. One thing that I'd like to note about the Arthas pick in particular, he's one of the few like off-lane secondary frontline heroes that can survive a Sanctification and get value in a team fight afterwards. A lot of the time when you're up against a Tyrael, sometimes the Sanctification will happen and then the fight will be done, and that's sort of it. But when you're playing against an Arthas, and sometimes an Arthas with a double support, the Sanctification will happen and they'll still survive the Sank and then look for value afterwards. They end up going Leo Lucio.
Talking aggression.
Yeah, they're just all in. With the breakdown and Sanctification, we've seen that synergy from so many teams that as long as their execution and it's Team Expert, which it should be on point, as long as their execution's on point, that's a pretty scary all-in composition.
Yeah.
However, Team Wish does have tools to deal with all-in playstyle. ETC into Tyrael, one thing to note, it's a very volatile matchup for the Tyrael. It's so difficult to get Sanctification off versus ETC.
Especially since with this setup, you have also a lot, like the main damage is on Greymane. So if you manage to control Greymane with Arthas ETC, then all of a sudden you have amazing tools to just make sure that Expert doesn't get the kill.
I think this game's going to come down to Bad Benny, and will he get Sanctification off without it getting interrupted by any of ETC's options or Vala with Reign of Vengeance if she opts into that. And what's difficult, the simple solution in that scenario is you just have your support pre-cleanse the Sanctification and it'll go off regardless, and that sort of synergy we've seen happen. But Lucio doesn't have a cleanse, so it puts that extra emphasis.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
Me too. With Greymane being the solo damage, the blinds make a lot of sense.
I was just about to say that I would have hated a Tyrande now that they revealed the last few picks, because you can really tell they want to speed into the fight. Tyrael jumps in, drops the Sanct, and everybody jumps in. And if you have a Tyrande, she's gonna die within seconds.
But a Lily?
Yeah, a Lily.
She'll get away.
First of all, she doesn't die in point one, and the blinds are really good on her. So you have your second support, but now all of a sudden you have blinds against Greymane, and as long as you survive the initial onslaught, you are solid with this. So I like that choice actually.
Water Dragon or a Jugs game?
Jugs for sure.
Yeah.
I really don't like Water Dragon as an ult in general. Cups allows you to position well while still putting out like an incredible amount of sustain.
I think what you don't understand is that it has the dragon.
You're missing out on the dragon factor.
There's a dragon in there.
Dragons are important here in
That
Europe.
is true. Dragons are pretty cool.
Okay.
But
I was scared for a second that he didn't
Can
understand.
we bring Cawthon back? He liked Water Dragon.
He liked Dragon.
He liked Water Dragon.
Meh.
No,
I'd much rather sit down with a cup of tea, and Lily happens to have thousands of those.
Do we have a 5-man that can all run dragons? We have Genji, we have Arthas, and we have Lily.
Dragon
Do we
Blade,
have more?
Sindragosa, Water Dragon.
Chromie counts as a dragon, right?
Yeah, Chromie.
Chromie is a dragon. 4.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Blizzard wears Deathwing.
Yeah. That's what we need. We need our dragon compositions.
Does Diva count with a new skin? Probably
new
not.
I was
right?
thinking about it.
Potentially.
Yeah, but it feels weird. Technically, on one of the skins for Zarya, her gun is a dragon, so that could work out
No,
if you really wanted to push it.
I think we need Deathwing. What do you think? Yes, no?
Yeah, we need Deathwing.
Deathwing?
All right.
Blizzard, make it happen.
Make it happen, Blizzard. Let's get ready for game number 3. We're all tied up here in the playoffs, 1-1 here, as we see Team Expert take on Team Wish.
Game on, ladies and gentlemen. Team Expert in game number 3 against Team Wish with Curson on Lucio, Bad Benny on Tyrael, Aethera on Leoric in a hyper-aggressive composition where we see AD RD on Tacita and Nick for the 3rd game in a row on Greymane.
On the right side, in the red, Team Wish. Grandpa playing the Rhaegar. Mopsio playing ETC once again. Poik on Vala. Gonna be working those Hungering Arrows. Zarmony on Arthas. And playing the Panda. It'll be Shad.
So, as we just said, Lily is, of course, a pick that is not really all that common here, but as a last pick against the setup that Team Expert is running, she makes a lot of sense. You know that Expert right now with Lucio and with Tyrael is looking for that hyper-engage where they just speed things up, they move in, drop the Sanctification, and Greymane looks for the target. So they want, with that explosive approach, to take at least one, if not 2 kills right off the start of a big fight later on in those team battles after 10. And any other second support, and with Vala usually look for double support, would have a rough time with it. But as you have Lily, first of all, she has the survivability. She also has, with the Jux, even more hit points, and more so importantly, she has, of course, blinds. And against Greymane, if you survive that early attack, then you are in a very fantastic spot to turn a find around against them.
And Gale Force, the level 1, is actually pretty solid on the Lily. It gives additional damage. When that dive is coming your way, you're guaranteed to hit multiple members and, of course, help your teammate out in getting that damage in. I'm kind of curious to see what we're going to get from Team, which is Vala. Are we going to have the Strafe just to help out against the double support, or are we going to have the Rain of Vengeance just to make sure that dive doesn't get pulled off as well as they would like?
Yeah, at that point, if you have the Rain of Vengeance, I mean, it's all with Rain of Vengeance, there's oftentimes two things that apply here. First of all, you think about how many interrupts do I have on the other side that can really interrupt it.
Yeah.
From a damage perspective, Rain of Vengeance is definitely the inferior talent to Strafe. With Strafe, you get more damage output, but as you said, that stun is really what matters.
Yeah.
And if everybody tries to clump in, it's just a question of can you play around the Sanctification. So as Glorin said a bit earlier, it honestly comes down, or a lot of this comes down to the question, how are these Sanks going to be? Because from an execution perspective, the burden of execution is going to be on Team Expert here. The Sanctification can be interrupted by so many tools. ETC alone is amazing against it. So if that happens, then I think Expert is going to have a rough time in these team fights. But if he gets the perfect Sanctification in, and then Greymane can unfold the damage, Lucio makes sure that you can't run away, that could really be Expert's play. But I think right now, from the past 2 games with team fights, I don't know. Team fights is something where Wish really excels at.
Team Wish has been doing a really good job in the team fights, and they also have great control here for when they move into the Immortal phase with the Arthas sitting on the side, ETC as well. I could see them buying just enough time to win out the race with the Hungering Arrows constantly poking in and being aggressive. Now, of course, if there is a spot where a member dies on Team Wish's side, you have that Greymane, obviously, for Team Expert that can come in and just shred through an Immortal. So it's all coming down to how those engagements really break forward.
Yeah, I'm actually really interested to see how this goes because I really love what we're seeing for composition on the side of Team Wish. Especially, you have ETC, you have Arthas.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see what exactly can Expert do outside of the Sanctification because it can't be your only one trick that you are able to execute. You need to have a little bit more.
Catch them in the rotations.
The rotations that could work. But I mean, we're going to find out right now. We're going back into the game as the difficulties have been overcome. So guys, we're still all the way up at the beginning, 1 minute into the match. Lily here at this point in the 4-man. Mopsio again on this ETC. And as we said before, outside of the stage dives that we've seen in the last game, his positioning in his peer was actually exceptional. And that's something that Poik now needs because ETC is one of the best frontliners to combo off with Vala, just simply because he is amazing at creating space.
That he is. Created space there, actually, sitting on the bush on the side. Team Expert went for a push on the turret, but with him coming on the background with a power slide onto the Tassadar, it completely nullified the push that Team Expert was trying to pull off with the 3 members. Now, a Thorough and Nick are on the top against Zarmony. Already, Arthas versus Leoric can be a bit of a pain, but you had a Greymane in the mix, and he is going to have a difficult time winning that lane.
Yeah, so in the early game, let's see how the things are going to proceed here. You know, of course, this is a lot about the late game setup as well. When Vala can stack her Q talent on level 4, and we're going to see that Sanctification that we've been rambling about for quite a bit. The level 10 abilities are definitely going to be a huge game changer for this. But in the early game, we have a lot of clear on the Immortal, thanks to Rhaegar and also Vala. The Monster Hunter has the level 1 ability, of course, emphasizing that arrow damage against the Immortal even more. And that is why we're seeing Team Wish actually pushing aggressively forward right now.
Yep, looking to get the chunks there on the Immortal. Also, you don't really want to go a poke war against a Lucio, too, against your opponent. You'll eventually lose out with your own healers losing out on the mana. So Team Wish moves forward, gets aggressive on that Immortal to chunk it down. There is also the other side of moving in and trying to get that level 4, which Rhaegar is doing on the bottom side as he rotates into the team. Needs to be careful not to get caught out, because remember, as we mentioned, Lucio boosting in onto a target could allow Team Expert to get a kill.
Yeah, nice route here. If ETC can follow that up with a slide, that would be the best case scenario. ADRD is low, and that's an issue, and that allows now a halftime show advance for Team Wish as they go in and easily drop it to half HP. Greymane has been delivering some damage at the top. An interesting adjustment here on the side of Leoric, going into Paralyzing Rage on level 4, so even more slow now on the side of Leoric, not going into Neil Peasants, since he doesn't need it on this map. which doesn't need as much wave clear as other 3-lane maps.
I was actually a little bit interested too about the lifesteal there for Kala's Embrace, helping out the Greymane, trying to make sure that when he dies forward, he can get a couple of procs of healing. Grandpa gonna need some healing now as he's getting low, but with Lily coming to the side with the blind shadow, be able to help out.
Yeah, so it's a 4-man defense. 5-man right now with Team Expert trying to defend the Immortal. Greymane is finally breaking off to the left side, but still, this is the approach as we see Wish coming in again, stun circles on the ground, but they're still fine here. They go for the Immortal, and that should be an easy win for them. Or will it be, because Nick is coming back, and here comes once more Zarmany. Mopsy already the power slide into the back line. They hold onto the Immortal for now, but still we are seeing a massive advantage for Team Wish for the race on the first objective.
But a big advantage for Team Expert. Look at the experience here. 5.5 to 4 3/4. Team Wish has traded out some experience just to make sure they can win the Immortal race, and they're starting to lose it. Now they come back in, should be able to edge out a lead, and there it is. This is where they get the opportunity to get back in the experience.
Yeah, and they should be able to bridge this quite easily. So we have a half-level lead, but that should not hold on for too long. Up at the top lane, on the other hand, Leoric was now pushing the wave in even further against the towers. But yeah, structures have been taken, and that's one of the main sources of Team Expert's lead in experience. So that should be negated once that the Immortal moves through the bot lane.
Typically, we get a wall out of this, not usually a force. With 4 members down here for Team Wish, that should be the case with Nick and crew defending the Immortal coming in. The shield gets deleted pretty darn quickly. Want to see if Mopsio is able to get a power slide on a juicy target. It looks like nothing is really available for the moment. Ooh, could have been a power slide there, but he plays it safe as they just take out the well and start to dance around.
Taking the well alone is already a big deal, and they had actually more than I even thought they would. To be honest with you, I expected them to go through the wall and not much more than that, but it's half damage on the fort as well, as we have them still roughly on the same experience now as Team Expert. So both of the teams are starting to slowly head into their level 7 ability. Lily, as we already pointed out before, went into Gale Force on a level 1. Mass Vortex now has a level 4 talent. So the increased number of enemies that you hit with your blind, which is going to be the crucial talent to take here if you want to make sure that Greymane is affected by it.
Yep, you are going to hit multiple targets with that Mass Vortex being picked up, especially when the Lucio dives forward as they accelerate into the fight with Ethereal Dive. Great pickup for them. I am curious to see if they're going to get that cleanse on level 7 here. They have the opportunity for 2 cleanses with Lily and Rhaegar, which could be useful, but at the same time, grabbing up that Serpent at level 7 could be great at a DPS for that Volley. Ooh, and they do move into it. The actual damage here, the Lightning Serpent.
Yeah, you go into Serpent. To be honest, for me right now, this is just absolutely insane. Think about where we are. We are still in a position where our team that came into the HGC in Phase 2 through the Crucible did make it from the first game in the playoffs into the last game of the playoffs, and now has the series tied against Team Expert, who was the huge favorite. And Expert has over and over professed how much respect they have for Team Wish, since they said this is the team that we're actually the most afraid of.
Yeah.
Any other team, Tricked, Liquid, it doesn't matter. Any other team, we feel way more confident against them. Wish is the team that shows so much progress so fast that we just don't know exactly how to handle them here. And also, I want to point out that in the in the phase itself, part 1, part 2, Team Expert didn't drop a single map against this team. Not one. This map, the last one, that was the first map ever in HGC that Team Wish took against Team Expert. And even with that background, Expert has said, this is the team that we're most afraid of.
It's scary how quickly they've grown as a team and come together. And the cleanse will be picked up by Rhaegar. I'm wondering if they really needed that. You can help out with the slow from the Leoric and the Tassadar, but there's no major CC for the opposing team unless Judgment gets picked up. Regardless, one cleanse will be picked up by the Rhaegar. Immortal gets burned down already. Team Wish is in the lead once again, as Team Expert is just trying their best to trade out on the bottom side.
I mean, to be fair, what else do you want to take? It's nothing that really stands out to me that would give them such a huge advantage that I would forego Cleanse on the 7 talent tier for Rhaegar. I really like Cleanse, even with just the slow. That might be the difference between a hero dying and surviving. So I absolutely understand the Cleanse. You have a couple of talents that you can definitely think about, even just cooldown reduction if you think about it. But overall, I would say that Cleanse is still just outshining all of them.
Well, Team Expert looking to get level 10 here, wanting to be able to grab that before the Immortal race is lost upon. Team Wish now has a chance to move in for a fight or to shred out the Immortal. They do land a Howling Blast on Tassadar. They turn around and focus the Immortal. They're trying to get it here before Team Expert hits 10. Yeah. Team Expert has brought all 5 down. They're looking for a fight now, but Tyrael is taking a beating.
And they are doing well. Benny jumps back in. Arthas is down. That's exactly what they needed here. Poik, oh my god, so good. The setup with the Force Wall and the Entomb, it doesn't perfectly work, but they still trap the targets, and now they get the kills. 1, 2, 3, and Mopsio dies too. Oh my god, that just hurt.
Tyrael lost out some health, but not before Zomni fell down first. Losing the Arthas allowed for Team Expert to get level 10, instantly picking up the Force Wall and the Entomb, locking down more targets. Vala couldn't kite backwards, and now Team Wish, as they hit 10, are heading straight to the middle of the map, but it looks like it'll be a little bit too late, as Team Expert will win the second Immortal phase.
Now there's a few things to talk about here as well. I'm not 100% certain if that Force Wall was actually from the get-go the plan, because I think that in the long run, Bad Benny dying here against an Ice Jump, in the long run, aren't they starting to lack a bit of damage? I really expected Archon from Tacita. I think if you go into a Great Entomb and then you put a Force Wall in, you make sure that nobody can even escape. You're basically just closing the door behind him. But do you really need both Force Wall and Entomb and give up the Tacita damage? Because you have amazing isolation tools, don't get me wrong. If you can get your isolation kills, that's fantastic. But in big 5 versus 5s later on, you might start losing out on a bit of the necessary damage that you have. It's going to be interesting to see later on in the game.
It does make it a bit harder for Zarmi to overextend on that Arthas. Having that Force Wall means he has no ability to get out from a fight. That could be the intention here for Team Expert. But it's 2 supports.
Exactly, you have 2 supports with Jux and with Ancestral. And let's keep in mind, in that last fight, they didn't have their level 10 abilities. That was the main reason. So now all of a sudden, if you think about the talents on Arthas in particular, we have him with the Icebound Fortitude on level 7. That helps him. Army of the Dead is in play. Now we have Jux and we also have Ancestral Healing.
Yeah.
So those were snap-picked talents. So I could see that in this situation, one of the players made a choice that he just said, okay, in this situation, I need this to stop them escaping. But in the long run, it might not be the perfect one here.
Well,
again,
see.
Arguments being made for both sides, no doubt about it, but I'm curious to see how that plays out in the later stage of the game. At this point, what we also have to highlight is that Team Wish, as they engaged into the Immortal, made actually a miscall. And this is one of the things where you can really tell that as a team, they haven't evolved as much as other teams. They don't have the same amount of experience. Sometimes you need to let this go. They were moving in for the Immortal, and it ended up with them losing 3 heroes and losing a level in experience now.
And it's been hurting them, because 13 hits here, they're full level behind. They've lost 2 forts in this exchange. The Immortal phase, they're going to go in at a disadvantage. Team Wish will have to fight back hard.
Absolutely true. So they have fantastic team fights, and they have a lot of resilience, as we've seen on Braxis, and they can always come back into a game. But sometimes they put themselves into a bit of a bad spot because they try to force too much. It's actually a problem that in the beginning of 2016, Fnatic had as well, and it took them nearly a year to completely overcome it and to have the discipline in these fights. So not trying to nitpick on Wish, but just to put that a bit of in perspective of how much room they still have to grow.
Which is scary, because they have more room to grow, and we've seen so much in the last couple of weeks. Well, the Immortal phase begins in 10 seconds, and Team Wish is closer and closer to level 13. They're about to hit it with about another wave of experience. They should be just fine, but Team Expert, having a nice open window, moves forward, and they start working on the Immortal. Tyrael scouting everyone, as Team Wish is scouted in the top right corner. They head down to defend their Immortal as they wait for that 13 to hit. Also, we have no Ominous Wrath in this setup here. With the Vala, you need to get, if you want to get use of that talent, but we have actually Unyielding Despair taken now by Ethereal. So definitely a bit of a different setup here. It's more about the cooldown reduction that we're now having on the Drain Hope. So you're trying to constantly keep that up. Also gives Leoric a lot of sustain here. But let's see how this is working now, because this is 13 versus 13, and this is not the moment where we have these big team fights on eye level that we have to watch out for. Still a note on that Unyielding Despair, great against a Arthas if you're able to lock out, especially with a Force Wall coming in to make sure that they actually are able to finish that full duration of the Drain Hope. Mopsio, speaking of lockdown, gets caught on the top right side, and he's being focused down. The healers trying their best to keep him alive. Jug of 1,000 Cups will come out. Yeah, no Ancestral use just yet. Here comes the Mosh Pit, uses that immediately, gets cleansed as well. They are getting some damage to the Ancestral, is also hitting as Mopsio is once again going in for the power slide, but at the same time, Tyrael is using his Sanctification, trying to keep them alive. Mopsio isolated by the Force Wall, and that's the kill against ETC as Team Expert survives and nets themselves a second kill. Arthas is down. Poik is on the wrong side of the battle, and he falls as well. Team Expert is just
body slamming Team Wish and takes 4 heroes down. Only the dog about to survive, and even he might fall.
Looking like it. Yes, it is. Curson comes in with the boop. That will be the final hit. The Immortal gets burned down, and Team Expert during the halftime show is going to the bottom side to open up the keep wall. Team Expert in the last 40 seconds has made impressive shot calls. Great team fight. The thing about that is Team Wish tried to take an Immortal fight underneath their opponent's Immortal and eventually caught up with them.
Yeah, and the sustain at the start looked great, but then the Sanctification came through, and that was a massive issue. Also, Mopsio went really deep, and that was when Lily actually used her jugs. And you could tell, I'm actually not quite sure that Lily was supposed to be the one that saves him, because you could see Rega. Rega was trying to move top to save ETC, but that was the moment when ETC moved back down. And because of the terrain, Rega had to go all the way around again onto the bottom side if he didn't want to move into 4 heroes. So that's when Lily finally started to pop the jugs and try and get that through. But right now, I mean, Expert has 2 levels ahead. They have level 16 talents, and they have an Immortal with roughly 80% shields that is now moving through the top lane. This is Expert just once again showcasing why they are the favorite in the series.
Another case, though, where Team Wish is down but not out. 16-14, they'll defend the keep, pushing on the top right side. A shield is about 3/4 of health here, still willing to move on in. And Team Expert definitely have their eyes on the prize. They want this keep, and they're not going to stop.
It would be insane if they can save the keep. I don't think they can, but let's see how this pans out. For now, the stun coming through. Poik with good damage against Tacita in particular, pressuring now also where Benny and Ethereal. Here comes Shad with his ult, no interrupts against the Jugs. That's great already, but the keep is still being assailed and is going to fall. Question is just, can they get more out of this? Good force walls from ADRD. He's lacking out the damage of Archon, but so far his force wall placements have definitely made up for it and created a lot of opportunities here. Nopsio, bit low, barely getting out as the Immortal is finally defeated, but Team Wish still 2 levels behind and lacking out on the level 16 talent.
2 levels behind, but only a level behind in terms of actual talent, so they can get that 16. It'll be great for them. Losing out on the keep, that aggressive play for them was just enough to keep Team Expert away from the entire push, allowed for them to focus some damage onto that Immortal, and that allowed for their core to still stand. So Team Wish, with all said and done, have taken 1 fort, and they're down to 1 keep on their side. They are setting up a trap here on the right. Curson and Nick are by themselves. Lucio could be in trouble if Mopsio gets the power slide. Ooh, the knockback at the last second. Curson keeps himself alive.
Yeah, great boot there, but still, they are getting the camp, and here comes the... that shouldn't do too much. Zarmany's actually getting attacked. Where's the Ancestral finally coming through? Grand Paquete is hitting it. Wasn't quite in range, and here comes Lily as well, trying to keep them alive. But Team Expert goes in, and they want him. They want Zarmany, and it looks like they're going to get him. ADRD lasers away, gets the kill, but Nick is about to fall as well, and with Greymane down, the damage is already obliterated. Bad Benny is low. Poik is on the case and trying to take him down, but Mopsio is also in trouble. Shad and Grandpa trying to keep him alive, but ETC is down.
A game of health bars there. Poik on the side, still thinking that he can take this fight. Goes in for a Rain of Vengeance, dropping down another Hungering Arrow, but he's getting low on mana. Bad Benny comes back in to lock him in with the Holy Ground, and Team Expert, with it all said and done, will get 4 kills. Only Rhaegar gets away.
Team Wish wanted too much here. At this point, they could have taken Tyrael, sacrificed ETC, and traded 2 for 2, but they were desperate to make something happen here. So Vala actually came back into the fight, was trying to turn it around, let Tyrael go wherever he pleased to, and then with Holy Ground, he could cut off the retreat path of the 2 and eliminated them. So for Team Wish, it was a very, very difficult call to make. They are in a spot where they don't want to trade 2 for 2. They hope that they save Mopsio and then they can maybe even get more kills, but it turns out to be the wrong choice in hindsight, 2020 obviously. And they get cut off by Tyrael, who survives Vala's attack, and then he can just like cut the part of the retreat off, everybody dies, and now it's just Expert again with another Immortal. But they only get the halftime show, and this is a 16-16 fight, so this is really the moment where Team Wish has to show up. If they lose out on the Immortal here, recovering from that spot would be insanely difficult. So this is really the moment when they know, okay, it hinges on this fight. Let's make sure that this one counts.
The crazy part about the last fight to me also was that if they could have bought 2 more seconds, Army of the Dead would have been up. We would have had Arthas actually stay alive, and they could have turned it around. They bought him a good 8 seconds between Rhaegar and Lily. Immortal is going to be the race here, as Rhaegar is back home defending the catapults.
That's, of course, the big play for Team Expert, just delaying everything until catapults are once again on the on the core. But yeah, Rhaegar to go back, and immediately that triggered Expert moving in. And Mopsio is once again low. Mopsio is here constantly in trouble. AD is putting so much pressure on him, it's awesome. Bad Benny being attacked, Lily already with the jugs. The 20 power spike of Wish would also be insane if they ever get into that position, but now they are 2.5 levels behind, so it's a bit unlikely. But a win in this fight could change everything. Mopsio already softened up by the quick storms that we're seeing from AD. They're starting to take the position. Power slide, Howling Blast, Mosh Pit. They really want Nick, but they don't get him as Lucio drops the beat.
Mopsio's in trouble, locked in an Entomb. The Ancestral a second too late, just a hair, and Team Expert continues to chase forward. They find Vala. Poik has fallen, which means this team fight is done. Team Expert chasing a third kill as well, and now with the wave pushing on the bottom side, they can move for the keep. Can they even go core?
Yeah, they should be able to. I mean, at this point, you go for the keep, you get it, no matter what happens, the keep is gone, and from there you should be able to also take the core. Even if you don't move for the core here, if you take 100% shield Immortal at this point, which is your second option, that Immortal alone is going to win you the game. So Team Expert is going in, they are going to take game number 3. Wish put up a decent fight, but in the team fights, they just got destroyed every time. Expert with perfect execution and really good target calling in those battles was able to make it work and have retaken the lead.
A couple of team fights not going well for Team Wish. Team Expert turning it around, grabbing a lead and pushing it forward. They'll go up 2-1 in the series. Glaurung, how did Team Expert get this win?
Perfect synergy, honestly, between like the Lucio and the Tyrael and just the positioning in the team fight. Whenever they used their ults, the players seemed to always be in the right position. And I honestly think that was what separated Team Expert from Team Wish. Like, Team Wish didn't seem to be the same team that we saw from Braxis.
Sure.
From the team synergy, it seemed like there were a couple miscommunications here and there, but on Expert's side of things, the cohesion and chemistry was on point.
Yeah. Were there any major replays that you had from there, or was it mostly just that?
Okay, yeah, so we have 2 replays we can go into.
Okay.
And the first replay is right before level 10, and like this one is a big moment. The Immortal is it's being rushed down almost by Wish, and Expert just needs to get that level 10, and then they can turn this around completely. But if you watch Curson on Lucio, he positions well. Like, Bad Benny gets away super low, and Curson, he goes in and just finishes out and just makes sure he's backing up his team at all points in time. And they end up getting that level 10, securing a couple more pick-offs with that Entomb, and it ends up just securing that Immortal for them, and it's a huge deal.
Okay, I have to talk about this for... Okay, we'll go with this one first.
If we can pause this really quick. The one thing in this team fight that I want to notice is just watch Bad Benny throughout this team fight. His positioning on Tyrael is really good. And
also Grandpa. Grandpa is looking for the Ancestral. You can actually... This is the moment that I talked during the game. If you look where Mopsio is, Grandpa is always trying to get into Ancestral range, but Mopsio in a second is also going to move down, which forces Grandpa back down.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So Grandpa is just rotating around, and you can see him in the background just desperately trying to find that angle. But right here, it's just the awkward situation when you're fighting into a Lucio or a Tyrael underneath their Immortal. Execution has to be on point, and you see Grandpa get the cleanse on the Mosh Pit, and the Mosh Pit lasts for a very long time. But, like, so much value out of Sanctification and Lucio's ult here is just enough.
And then you fight on the Immortal and the Suns alone.
It's like you're playing almost